Gallifrey in the constellation of Casterbarus.
I hope the ears are a bit less conspicuous this time.
You might be a doctor, but I am.
I'm a doctor, but probably not the one who looks good.
Absolutely fantastic.
All of time and space, everything that ever happened or ever will. Where do you want to start?
This meeting is being recorded.
What the fuck? What was that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's new.
That's never happened before. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big on the Inside, the new Doctor Who Watch Along podcast. Apologies for my slightly strong bad language there. I think we were both taken back by a random voiceover woman who decided to tell us that the podcast was being recorded. That's never happened before, has it?
No, I guess that's an update.
I hope so. Oh, we're being watched. Welcome back to Big on the Inside, the new Who Doctor Who Watch On podcast. We're back. It's episode 6 this week, and we've got our watch along coming up later, as always. Which is what this week, Harry? What are we watching later?
It is the Lazarus experiment.
It is the Lazarus experiment, well remembered. But before that, we've got all the Doctor Who news that's gone on during the week. One thing I just wanted to talk about first is that people will probably know that the Big Finish Torchwood audio series, I think it was just a one-off, called Absent Friends, has been indefinitely cancelled or rescheduled. They have not sort of announced when it's going to be re-released due to obvious circumstances with John Barrowman. But I feel there's maybe a slight misunderstanding online that it was likely Big Finish's decision to cancel it. And I keep seeing loads of people like tweeting that Big Finish have released it and that they disagree with it, which is totally fine. If you disagree with the reason it's being cancelled, fair enough. But probably best to bear in mind as well that this isn't a decision made by Big Finish, and it was probably an instruction from the higher ups of the BBC, hence Time Fracture as well, also being somewhat dragged into it as well. So, yeah, just a bit of food for thought. Maybe next time you're on Twitter and you're a bit annoyed with Big Finish for something they haven't released, chances are it might not actually be their decision. Because we've spoken to loads of people from Big Finish on the podcast who've been absolutely lovely and absolutely love their work, from writers, graphic designers, voiceover artists, and the rest who all love Big Finish. So, yeah, there's that. Should we move on with the rest of the news, Harold?
Absolutely.
I won't lie, where there is one exciting big thing I'm saving till the end, and a few little things before then. One of these little things, I don't know if you saw, but recently the band Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds have celebrated their 10th anniversary, and they released a new song, and starring in the music video for said song was Doctor Who's very own Matt Smith.
I have heard about this, yes, yeah. I've not seen the video, but I know I've heard that Matt Smith was in it.
Yeah, I think it's weird when, I know this is the second sort of new Who to appear in music videos. We had Peter Capaldi appearing in Lewis Capaldi's music video. But I always find it strange when music videos hire these big actors or well-known, well-established actors to appear in music videos, because I sometimes feel it maybe takes away from the actual story that the song's trying to tell, because I'm watching it going, oh, that's Matt Smith there.
Well, yeah, the weird thing is with music videos, especially songs which kind of have more kind of ambiguous lyrics, where you can kind of, you know, it's about someone's relationship with someone and maybe ending, and it could be like you said, the Lewis Capaldi song, I can't remember what it was called, it's this big one.
Was it Bruises?
Somebody to Love. No, it's Somebody to Love.
Okay.
Like, I'm pretty sure that there are actually 2 music videos for that. There's the original one with Peter Capaldi, where I believe it's about he's playing someone who's losing someone close to him, like his wife or something is dying. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then when the song hit big in the US, they did a new one with Lewis himself, which made it seem like it was more about a breakup. So it's kind of the thing with music videos is I prefer to listen to songs generally without music videos, because I feel like that allows me to kind of find and identify with it in my own way, rather than the music video kind of telling me what it's about.
Yeah, I find a lot of modern music videos as well are very sort of almost quite boring. It's just the artist singing the song in a location. You know what I mean? They're on like a set made to look like something as well. So you go right back to stuff like Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. That's just them in a studio singing that song and it's being recorded, which I think works really well. And you have bands like OK Go, with where they're running on treadmills and they've stopped motion themselves and stuff like that, which is just insane. Insanely good, sorry. But yeah, I feel like some music videos now are just a bit. I don't feel like people watch music videos much anymore. I don't think there's when I was growing up, like early teens, you had like 4Music, which would just show music videos all afternoon. But I don't know if that's still a thing anymore.
There's definitely, because I remember like a couple of years ago, I was at someone's house and they had that on in the background, and they do still kind of air those. And also, I think it's pretty popular if you go to the gym. I think they put that stuff on like their gym TVs.
Yeah,
Honestly,
is that like
I can
a
only think
subscription
of,
for the gym though? Do they like pay to have stuff like that shown?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you have to pay to air TV in public or anything
I
like
do
that. Like, do
apologize, everyone.
pubs
You've all
have
just
to?
caught me sending a text message during the podcast. I do apologize. Very rude of me. Sorry, Harry. I went to look up to see if 4Music was still on, but I opened a message and it said I'd read it, so I had to respond. Apologies. Carry on.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. This is a very far away from talking about Doctor Who, but I'm just wondering, do places like gyms and pubs, do they have to pay? No, pubs do. They have to pay to show sport. Well, they have to pay for the sports channels, obviously, but they have to pay
You have to
some
have
kind
a
of
pub
license
license,
to
'cause
like
if you watch the TV in the pub, it has like a little pint logo in the corner.
Right.
With gyms, I don't know, because some gyms do show music videos directly on the screen, but the gym I used to go to, they used to just play music. They used to play music too loud because you then couldn't hear your own music when you put your headphones in, which was somewhat annoying. But
Yeah.
I will sign back up to Pure Gym and I will report back next week with my findings. I'll do a survey at the gym. Let's go around asking sweaty men, would you rather listen to your own music, listen to the gym's provided music, or listen to the gym's provided music video selection? They should do what they do at our university, which is you can download an app and you can request what music video you would like to see on the television. And if other people vote for it, it comes up next in the list.
That's interesting. Interesting. I think back at my uni, the SU used to have something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was a very limited selection, though.
Yeah, it is. I put you put
songs.
Busted in and nothing comes up. I'm like, that's like I'm listening to Dua Lipa again. Moving on to other news, again, not really related to Doctor Who news, but there was a discussion that I thought we could have about this, Harry, is that Harry Styles, actor and musician, has been filming a new film in which he plays a policeman, and obviously it's a period piece, so he's been hanging around a police box, otherwise commonly more known as a TARDIS. And it sort of got me thinking, he'd kind of looked quite good next to this TARDIS, and I sort of thought, well, he would possibly... He looks like he would make a good Doctor. When I see him at awards dues and in his suits and stuff, he looks very flamboyant and extravagant, but also quirky and clever. And I think I haven't seen enough of his acting performances to judge how I would possibly feel about him doing it. Obviously, it would never happen because he's far too famous to do something like that. You look like you need to say something.
Yes. Well, firstly, I just want to observe how it's so funny that kind of Doctor Who and the TARDIS has become so ingrained in pop culture that the police box, something that is not even really a part of British culture anymore, is now just, when you see a police box, the predominant thing you think is Doctor Who and the TARDIS. I just find that very amusing. Yeah. I can't think of many other pieces of kind of pop culture iconography that can really lay the same claim to fame.
That's true.
So Harry Styles, like you said, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen because Harry Styles is far, far, far too famous, far too successful as a musician. Have you seen Dunkirk, Tim?
I haven't seen Dunkirk. My understanding is he's in it, but maybe his role isn't. It's not one of the lead roles, is it?
It's sort of, well, Dunkirk kind of is a sort of, I can't really say anthology because all the stories are happening within a very similar time frame and all revolving around Dunkirk. And so kind of the predominant story is about kind of the soldiers on the beach just trying to survive. And of kind of like that key ensemble of kind of boys, Harry Styles is one of the main ones. The thing is, it's very, very difficult to kind of draw anything from Harry Styles' ability as a performer from Dunkirk, because Christopher Nolan, he kind of chose with Dunkirk. I mean, I hope it's a choice that those individual soldiers don't really stand out as their own individual characters. They kind of treated much more as this collective of men just trying to survive. And it's very hard to distinguish between them other than, that one's Harry Styles, that one's not Harry Styles.
When you're watching it, are you going, oh, look, that's Harry Styles?
In the first kind of 10 minutes, yes. And you never really forget about it, because amongst kind of those young men, he's kind of the most famous face amongst that set of characters. And so it never completely goes away that you're watching Harry Styles. That being said, he doesn't stand out as having a particularly weaker acting performance than anyone else. It's just that none of them have anything defining enough as a character to latch onto for you to really make those kinds of observations. At least I couldn't. And maybe that's a choice from there. Maybe it's a choice that you just wanted to depict them very straightforwardly as just guys trying to not die. Yeah. But in terms of when it comes to discussing Harry Styles and his ability to act, it leaves me with not much to really remark upon. I feel inclined to say that when it comes to musicians turned actors, I feel like I can't imagine Harry bringing anything to the role that someone such as Ollie Alexander couldn't bring, and then some. Yeah.
What do you
so even
think...
if it was...
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, so even if it was within the realms of possibility, I'd be inclined to say there'd be better choices than Harry Styles as the 14th Doctor.
He's got a few projects coming up. He's Don't Worry, Darling, a horror thriller. The one that he's filming at the moment as well, My Policeman. The arrival of Patrick into Marion and Tom's home triggers an exploration of... Oh, this sounds exciting. I think it's like a policeman that maybe traveled... Don't tell me it's about a policeman. I'm not going into it. But
what?
You said
what was it about? What's the film about?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I started reading the synopsis and I was maybe got a bit too excited about it, so I stopped reading it. But what was I going to say? You said there are musicians playing the Doctor. Now, when we were speaking about this, I sort of thought, oh yeah, Harry Styles. I could see him doing it as a visual thing. He looks like he could do it, but would he bring anything into it? And someone who I've thought would have made a brilliant Doctor, unfortunately we will never see in maybe a TV role, would have been David Bowie.
Yeah, I've seen you share those images of him in that particular get-up more than once.
Yeah, it looks great.
Reality Doctor Who. He does look great. And I mean, I've not seen Labyrinth, but from what I can tell, he leaves an impression.
Yeah.
In Labyrinth. I don't know. Have you seen Labyrinth?
I've seen parts of Labyrinth. And, I'm somewhat I wouldn't say I'm a big Bowie fan, but I really like David Bowie as a person. I own a couple of Bowie LPs and stuff like that. But I think that's a character then that if he had played, he would have done like a really amazing job as Doctor Who. I
feel like he would have made an imprint on Doctor Who, in a way that only he could, which is really, that can be said for David Bowie in anything he did in his life, He kind of made an impact in a way only he could have done.
Should we go back on to Doctor Who, Harry? Should we talk more about actual Doctor Who?
Oh, do we have a piece of actual Doctor Who news?
We do. Doctor Who Time Fracture, the West End immersive theatrical show, has announced that it will include all the current Doctor Who's from Doctor number 1, so all the way up to Jo Martin's Fugitive Doctor. I believe she's included.
Yes, she is. Her and Jodie are both included.
Yeah, which is all very exciting. I believe David Bradley is playing the first Doctor, and Patrick Troughton's grandson is playing the second Doctor. The big Finnish artist, I want to say Tim Taylor, is playing the third Doctor. Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, with Jacob Dudman portraying Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, and Matt Smith. and Peter Capaldi, I want to say, who you'll know from Big Finish, also with Jodie Whittaker and Joe Martin, as well as, I believe his name is Paul, who voices the War Doctor over at Big Finish as well. It's exciting. I get more and more inclined to possibly go and experience it, but the fact we live up north and this is restricted to London, and I think minimum ticket price is about 50 quid. I think if I was going to London, I would look at possibly going, but I wouldn't go just for it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if I want, yeah, I know what you mean. And I feel like, I mean, an immersive theatre experience is cool, but there's so much cool theatre stuff going on in London. Like, London is like the UK's hub of theatre, the West End.
Yeah.
So it would be a question of, I love Doctor Who, but is there something else on? I don't know. I've heard Woman in Black's pretty damn good. That's still going.
Yeah. I would also feel... Sorry, go on.
No, you go. You say what you're going to say first.
I would feel somewhat niffed as well if I got there and I got a story involving a Doctor that wasn't voiced by the actual actor to have played the Doctor. I know Jacob Dudman does an amazing job as his variations of each Doctor, but I would also feel I would kind of prefer it. I wonder why David, obviously know why Chris doesn't do it, but I wonder why David and Matt and Peter don't do it if people like Jodie are doing it. And is it a scheduling thing? Is it perhaps an ego thing? What is it? Because you can record that sort of stuff anywhere, surely, can't you? Because some of them are just voiceover cameos.
It could perhaps be a budgeting thing.
Oh, yeah, I mean, good point, yeah.
I don't imagine they come cheap, especially Matt. I feel like Matt is probably the most expensive Doctor Who actor to get, other than, like, if you wanted to get Karen Gillan.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think
what do you think to it then? Do you think it's, we literally know nothing about the actual storyline it's going to take, but we know it involves Daleks and it involves Weeping Angels and it involves all the Doctors. Well, it doesn't involve all the Doctors. I believe if you go on certain days and do certain adventures, you get certain Doctors. You aren't guaranteed them all.
Is it like is there a sort of multiple choice thing, like depending on how you interact with it, that impacts the story that you see unfold?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's you turn up and, like Star Tours, really. There's like 32 different adventures you can go on with Star Tours, but it depends which one you get when you turn up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
But
That's
yeah,
cool.
I think it would. I would like to do it, but it's just the expense of traveling to do something like that. I don't really know.
Yeah, I feel like of all the casting, it's all pretty cool. It's all fairly standard affair, I want to say, when it comes to when you want to get a Doctor. Though these are probably the options most people go to first. I was just wondering, because the one that kind of stuck out to me was Patrick Troughton's grandson. What's his name?
I can't remember, but I will have a quick look for you.
Is it Michael Troughton? I want to say
it might be. I'm just having a quick look. Patrick Troughton. No, it's not. I think it might be Sam, possibly. He was in Harry Potter as well. It is Harry.
Harry Troughton.
Harry Melling. Yeah.
Harry Melling.
Yeah, Melling.
Is his surname not Troughton?
No, I imagine it's. I don't know why it's not Troughton, but it's his grandson.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I feel like that is this the first time that they're playing Troughton?
I think it is. Yeah, it is, because he doesn't do it for Big Finish. I don't believe.
Yeah, I feel like that is going to start raising eyebrows. I feel like people might, and especially depending on, I imagine he has the likeness naturally of his grandfather.
Yeah, I'll just get a photo up for you whilst you tell everybody exactly what I know you're going to say.
Depending on the how good of a match his voice is and how good of a performance it is, which I'm confident it will be a strong one, it's going to start people, thinking, could we have another David Bradley situation? Could we
bring him
have
back to the 60th? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, even not the 60th, like possibly a similar, a sequel to Adventure in Space and Time, chronicling Patrick Troughton's time in the role.
Yeah.
Or even him appearing in Big Finish as the second Doctor, or all kinds of things, you know? I feel like people would be very open to more kind of fully realized recastings of classic Doctors who are no longer with us, similarly to what we had with Bradley.
Yeah, because I know that Sean Pertwee's name often gets thrown around to play the third Doctor. His father, John Pertwee, and you probably know Sean Pertwee as Alfred from Gotham. I think he tried. There was talk of him appearing in an episode with Capaldi, but just as a side character, not actually as the third Doctor. And I think they've asked him if he would like to be the third Doctor, if they were going to do an Adventure in Space and Time thing, or bring that character back. And I don't think he was that into the idea, maybe because of the pressure of it being so closely linked to him. But whereas if it's, Harry playing his grandfather's role, that's slightly different to playing your father's role, I guess.
Yeah. How would you feel about some sort of sequel follow-up to An Adventure in Space or Time, possibly telling the stories of both Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee and their time in the role?
I mean, obviously, I'd like to see it, but it also warrants it. Is it needed? I feel like Adventure in Space and Time was good because it was a drama that was released at the time of the 50th, and there was a story to tell there. Whereas, what's the story you tell onwards from there? Is it just how you either were worried about casting somebody else and it proved to be a success? It's kind of the story I feel like you can already sort of work out for yourself, is that people were skeptical, but obviously it worked, sort of thing. Whereas the actual start of a program is more interesting. I like the idea that in 40 years time, no, not 40 years time, around about 40 years time, we'll get Adventure in Space Time 2, which is documenting how Doctor Who returned with Christopher Eccleston.
Okay, interesting. But although then that's difficult as well, because from what we've heard from Russell, when he kind of proposed the idea, it was almost immediately kind of, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like Judy Garland was super enthusiastic.
Yeah, maybe. But I suppose there's some stuff you can do in there, like maybe casting Chris and then Chris Lee. Maybe that whole year, maybe make it about that actual year of production rather than getting the ball rolling. Because I feel there's more of an interesting story to tell there.
Possibly.
That's true. Talking of Chris, have you managed to catch up on any Ninth Doctor audio adventures yet?
I've not listened to the next couple parts of Ravagers because I didn't know whether or not we were going to do those as separate videos or
that's fine.
Include it here. Or
if you want to go and listen to our talks on Sphere of Freedom, do go back because we've done a video on that. But it's been announced by Big Finish that they've sort of announced the cover and the title of the second box set, which is called Respond to All Calls, featuring a selection of actors and different writers that I'll get up in a second, none of which, though, are Nicholas Briggs. So it's like he sort of set the ball rolling with the first box set, and that seems to have really been it, really, for now.
Interesting. I mean, obviously, it's not the last we'll see, I should say here, of Nicholas Briggs in these, because obviously he'll be appearing as Cybermen at some point.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So the episodes are Girl Destructed by Lisa McMullen, Fighter Mortival by Tim Foley, and Planet of the End by Timothy X Attack. Attack? A-T-A-C-K. How would you pronounce that? Attack.
I'd say Attack instinctively. I could be wrong.
Change your name, Timothy. But yeah, it's exciting. There's no synopsis or anything like that. It just says brand new adventures featuring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. I believe that these ones were recorded remotely. Yeah. And recorded on the 11th, 12th, and 18th of January 2021, recorded remotely. So these don't seem to be studio-based ones. And Christopher Eccleston returns as the Doctor, and then there's an endless cast of new actors and actresses, or actors, however you want to, distinguish yourself in various different roles. Production credits as well. Cover art amazing again by Tom Webster and Matt Fitton as script editor. Music by Howard Carter again, who we praised last time. So yeah, from what you've heard so far, are you looking forward to more adventures of this, or do you sort of feel like this first slot, you sort of whet your appetite for now and you're sort of full of it, or are you excited to get more content? Because doesn't get released until August of 2021.
I feel like I need to hear a trailer. I need to get some more information on what exactly these stories are going to be, because although I've not listened to all Ravages yet, it is kind of that thing of like listening to just Sphere of Freedom. That I was kind of overcome with the excitement of like, oh boy, it's Chris. He's the Doctor. He's back. And that's not going to sustain itself for all 3 volumes, naturally.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Sphere of Freedom kind of has by any means kind of relaxed itself in terms of the story or the writing. I couldn't tell on the first listen, but there's not going to be kind of any room for that in these subsequent stories. I think people will be listening with a much more keen eye as to what exactly they're using the Ninth Doctor for, as opposed to just being excited that it is the Ninth Doctor.
Yeah, people want a story arc, really, don't they? You need something to keep people coming back, because 4 volumes of 3 stories each, people by the end of it are going to be like, yeah, he's back. What are you going to do with him?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Talking about more current things, though, with Series 13 still in production, there have been a series of rumours floating around the internet in the last few days. I've taken a few sources from a fellow YouTuber, William Who, and a couple of tweets that I've seen online of people saying that they've bumped into spoilers and stuff like that. And I've tried to dig stuff out of various people on Twitter, and people are very tight-lipped. But from what I've been able to detect with my mind is that there is a possible secret character returning in Doctor Who Series 13. So that is one side of it. And then the other side, coming from William Who, is that there is the possibility that the Doctor could be meeting another Doctor in Series 13, but a Doctor we have not met. So not a Doctor who we know has a canon actor playing that role. So it could be a pre-Hartnell Doctor or a future Doctor that would be appearing alongside Jodie Whittaker for several episodes.
That's interesting. And that wouldn't be the Fugitive Doctor. That makes it even more interesting.
Well, I don't know if it wouldn't be the Fugitive Doctor, because as far as I'm aware, the relationship between Joe Martin and Jodie Whittaker is really good. They often tweet, Joe Martin often puts a couple of photos on Instagram of her with Jodie and stuff like that, and talks about being in the show and stuff like that. But I think we've spoken about her before, where she was asked if she would be returning, and she was like, oh, Chibnall, if you're reading this, give me a call. I'd love to come back, sort of thing. So I don't know if Joe Martin would actually be returning in Series 13, or if they are going to start introducing more unknown Doctors.
Perhaps this whole Fugitive Doctor is going to be a thing where the Fugitive Doctor and like the War Doctor is not just going to be one particular incarnation, but perhaps an era of incarnations. Maybe each series will see a different actor as this Fugitive Doctor from an unknown period in the Doctor's life.
Yeah.
And maybe that will be something that kind of recurs with different actors each time until it's all pieced together. Maybe that's what's going to happen. If that is what's happening, that means Chibnall is putting a very kind of long running story into place.
Yeah. What do you think to the idea of possibly introducing the 14th Doctor before we've actually seen the 13th Doctor regenerate into the 14th Doctor?
That's an idea I've always liked. I've always liked the idea. Like we've only really had it once with Capaldi appearing for like 1 second in Day of the Doctor, but I've always found the concept of introducing a future Doctor before the next Doctor to be a really exciting one, and it kind of honestly shocks me that they've not done it by this point, because to me, in a time travel show, it just makes so much sense.
What do you think, though? Would you want it announced to the public that that actor was playing the future Doctor, or would you like it as the reveal? As go, oh, they were the next Doctor all along.
That's kind of how I would like it. Like perhaps there's this vaguely mysterious figure who the Doctor encounters and who helps the Doctor in some way, and like, wonder what that was all about. And then they transform. Well, no, not transform. Regenerate. Know your lore, Harry. They regenerate into them and are like, oh, dang. So that's who that was. It was me, and now I'm them, and I have to do what they did.
But then do you then run the risk of then the next series just being a rehash of the first series because you have to follow the adventures of the other Doctor from the other point of view?
No, that would just be like the epilogue of the regeneration, like post-regeneration. One of the first things we see is them doing that.
So you're not like regenerating at the end of the episode, then the next series they come back and they've got to go back and do all the stuff you saw them do in the last series. They could regenerate halfway through an episode and then go back and fix the things that they had to fix.
Or it could be the future Doctor in the series before regeneration. You see them popping up at various intervals. And then the next series, those happen again, but it's all from their perspective. And you see the whole adventure they were having surrounding that. And there are these two interweaving narratives that just conjoined at those very specific points. But other than that, completely different stories.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be cool.
It just surprised me that they've never done anything like that before, but I suppose this could be, from what we've
Maybe
seen Chibnall do in the past,
too much.
this could very much be the time to do something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's something that would just take too much planning on a production side to kind of plan two series at once like that. Because my understanding with kind of how showrunners have operated previously is that they kind of plan it one full series at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe to try and take two series into account, and 2 years of production is just too much.
Yeah, perhaps. I also think because they've got a reduced episode run, that maybe the complexity of the series structure might not be so grand if they're having to strip back on the amount of time they can actually tell a big, grand, complicated story.
Yeah, perhaps. Or it'll just be much more kind of concise and tightly packed and plotted. Who knows? Maybe the shorter episodes will play in its favor.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not shorter episodes, less episodes.
Yeah. Anything else, Harry? Anything else that we haven't spoken about that you've had this week? We've gone, bloody hell, must talk about that.
No, I don't think so.
We're close to 400 subscribers. At time of counting, we are 1 subscriber away from 400 subscribers. So if you're listening to this and we're still on 399, be that legend who subscribes to our channel to cross us over into the race to 500 subscribers. Yeah, still 399. So who's going to be the 400 one? You win, I'm going to say 25 nerd points from the two of us. That's something point each. I don't know. I'm not very good at maths. But yeah, that'll be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. How many nerd points do I have? I feel like every time I get a question wrong in the quizzes and the watch long,
yeah, you're in minus. You're in minus points.
I'm in negative
talking of
nerd
the quiz,
points,
Harry,
aren't
how
I?
about you lead us into this week's watch along?
Yeah. So
Good luck working this one out. The Lazarus experiment.
Lazarus. What the fudge is a Lazarus? What is a Lazarus?
This week, guys, we're going to be listening and talking about the Lazarus experiment. And we're not creative enough right now to think of a clever way of segueing into...
Wait, no, is there a song or an album or something called Lazarus?
Is there a David Bowie
I feel
album
like there
called
is.
Lazarus?
I think is there a David Bowie thing called Lazarus?
David Bowie, Lazarus.
Give me that, because if so,
I'm just having a
was
quick
that his
look
last
for you.
like single?
Lazarus
from Black
was
Star,
one of his
Lazarus?
very last music videos, yeah.
Yeah, so actually that's actually a really interesting song. Well, I mean, it's a cool song, it's a cool video. I mean, the whole Black Star album, it's what a way to go out, you know. It was really kind of out there. I mean, I can't pretend that I've listened to all of David Bowie's discography. Like, my main understanding of him was kind of you know, the Ziggy Stardust stuff like Starman, Life on Mars. But like going from that and that understanding of him to like listening to someone Black Star and Lazarus, it's really kind of out there. What a jump, but cool. It's kind of a very cool kind of experiment, and almost kind of, you know, Lazarus itself is quite an experiment, a kind of Lazarus experiment. Speaking of the Lazarus experiment,
That was the worst one, yeah. Halfway through that, I thought of asking you, are you doing the thing, or are you just genuinely talking to me about Black Star?
I think that's what makes it so great. You didn't know. I got you. I pulled a sneaky on you.
Enjoy it, guys, because I think we did. we're not going anywhere because you're going to hear us again after the
Shut up!
jingle.
Shut up! Shut it down, pop up!
Humans are better in one respect. You are better at subscribing. Seek, locate, subscribe.
What's the point in having you all?
Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
David Tennant.
He's got spiky hair and trainers, I see.
David Tennant.
David Tennant.
David.
Hello, everybody.
That's our new
Welcome back to the watch long segment at Bigger on the Inside. I don't know what that is. I feel we're 6 episodes in. Let's start fresh. Harry's still here. Hi, Harry. How the freaking hell are you?
I'm pretty freaking good.
Good. I'm glad we're all freaking amazing. I don't know where this is going. I will let everybody into a little secret. It's 9 o'clock at night. I've just come back from work. I'm tired, but I've got to talk to you about an episode of Doctor Who that I was quite surprised by, which is called what, Harry?
The Lazarus Experiment by Stephen Greenhorn.
Now, I thought this was written by Mark Gatiss originally because it stars Mark Gatiss. Did you have that?
Yeah, I thought the exact same.
Exactly
The same thought.
Was it not until we watched this that you realised it wasn't written by Mark Gatiss?
It wasn't until we watched it, or an earlier period in which we looked through Gatiss's episodes, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, because we did. I think we did. There's a video on the channel where we talk about the weird history of Mark Gatiss and Doctor Who. So people should go check that out. But yeah, the Lazarus Experiment, episode 6 of series 3. Now, I'll be honest. So far, I was under the impression that this was going to be my favourite series of Doctor Who. But I've been slightly disappointed by the episodes so far. They weren't as exciting and as good as I thought. Smith and Jones is fun. Shakespeare Code is what it is. Gridlock is my favourite so far. Then there's the Dalek episodes. And there's this. But this one, I think, really hits a different pace and a different speed. What did you think of the episode, Harry?
Yeah, this was never one which I thought was bad. It was one I thought of as usually kind of like just a middling episode. But no, compared to like within the frame of what we've had so far, because I'm aware that kind of some quite notable episodes are along the corner. But of what we've seen so far of this series, this is definitely one of the strongest we've had, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is down to it gives a lot more characterization to Martha.
And her family. This is kind of the one episode where we really see Martha's family.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The episode starts with the TARDIS landing in Martha's flat, and the Doctor casually picks up Martha's knickers and makes a nice little joke about that. And then he sort of disappears, and it sort of left me asking the question, do you think the Doctor, at the start of this episode anyway, was just intending for Martha just to have a couple of tricks and drop her off? Or was he looking for a new companion? Because if I remember from Smith and Jones, he's very keen to bring her on board for that adventure very quickly.
The vibe that I get is that, yes, he does really want Martha to travel with him, but he's not allowing himself because he kind of is still kind of dealing with the post-Rose stuff. You know, the way that like kind of after you break up with someone who you had real strong feelings to, even if you meet someone who's really great, you're reluctant to rush into things because you don't want it to just end up being a rebound.
Yeah, that's why I often don't allow Harrison on the podcast anymore, because it's just a bit more uncomfortable for the two of us, I feel.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
One thing about that opening scene, where I think I heard this, in the Murray Gold score, was he playing an instrumental version of that vocal Christmas song from Christmas Invasion?
Oh, you mean the one that goes, I wish today was just like every other day? That one.
Yeah, I swear that the instrument, that the melody of that's playing in that opening scene is that song. Maybe I'm getting it completely wrong, but kind of something about the melody grabbed me. I was wondering if that was it.
There was, I did notice the music a lot more in this episode because it didn't seem like normal Doctor Who music for some reason. It didn't seem very Murray Gold. I think maybe because it was the first. Is it the first? It is the first modern day episode of Series 13 that's set on Earth. Anyway, is it not Series 13?
If you don't
Series
count
3.
Smith and Jones.
Yeah, because Smith and Jones is set on the moon. Then we go to Shakespearean times. Then we go to the future, and then we go to the past again, and then we're back in modern day. And I think we've said it in the past that the modern day ones tend to be our favourites.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think just because you get to kind of, especially because the modern day episodes with the companions now always deal with not just the companions, but also people close to them who they've left at home and kind of how they deal with it. So it always brings that extra dimension into the story.
Let's talk about that, because that was one thing that I sort of was really trying to work out this episode, because through Series 1 and Series 2, we really praised Jackie and Mickey and the home life element of Rose. How did you feel then about that now, but with Martha's family?
It was interesting. It was actually kind of cool to see that obviously Martha's a bit more grown up than Rose was. She's a bit more independent. And so in a way, her family is kind of, at least her siblings, her sister is much more kind of lenient and kind of allowing of the choices she's making. And I wonder if a lot of that is because of her age primarily. That she's
Martha's
a bit older. And
Martha's meant to be 23, is Martha. She's meant to be 23 years old. So round about our age. Yeah. I really like that family dynamic because it's different. It's more expanded. With Rose, it was just Rose and Jackie and occasionally Pete from the future and Mickey now and again. But with this, there's the mum, the dad, the weird sort of stepmom that Martha's got going on with that we see in the very first episode, the blonde woman in the car. And then there's Reggie Yates as her brother and Tish, her sister. So it's more of an expanded family that it's never really made clear why she's left it behind. Actually, no, it is. It's because she fancies the Doctor, whereas Rose leaves it behind because she doesn't have a life on Earth.
Also, she's not really leaving it behind in the same way to Rose. It's kind of Martha is established. She has her own apartment. She's living on her own. You know, in a way, I feel like a 23-year-old wanting to go off traveling with this new man they've met isn't the most radical thing in the world, you know?
No, you're right.
It's really only the fact that he's the Doctor that makes it particularly exceptional.
Yeah. Mark Gatiss, he's in this episode, and he's in future episodes, and he's in everything else that has ever graced the earth of Doctor Who. He just appears in it. He'll be the Master. He'll be another side character. He'll be another side character. And sometimes he'll be related to the Brigadier. We'll have to wait and see. But what do you think to that old man makeup that they gave Mark Gatiss?
Is this...
What was that? Sorry, I can't hear you now. What have you done?
Is this the first time we've seen any kind of old man makeup?
I can't hear you, Harry. You keep disappearing.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear. Now, let me pause it. Let's wait till it comes back. What did you think, Harold, to the old man Mark Gatiss makeup? Because I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think that because I know Mark Gatiss and what he looks like, I was aware that it was old man makeup, but I feel like it did do a job well. And, he did look old. And also Gatiss's performance really helped to carry that as well. Kind of the contrast between him older and him younger really did kind of help sell that and help buy into the illusion. It's kind of that and the makeup in tandem really working together very cohesively. Yeah,
there was times in it where I watched The Confidential and they were talking about, Mark Gatiss was talking on that about how as soon as he was wearing the makeup, his mannerisms changed and he would just slowly sit on a chair. Even though he was relatively young, I think he was about to turn 40 the next day, if I remember rightly, from The Confidential. But I imagine you look at yourself in the mirror because you look old, therefore you start acting old. I think it must be, if someone said, would you like to have it done for a day? I'd go, oh yeah, I think it'd be quite fun.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%.
I think it's really good prosthetics as well, because some of the stuff we've seen in previous episodes, I've been like, oh, I'm not sure about that. This was actually really good. I feel like if you didn't know it was Mark Gatiss, you could get away with it.
And I'm sure I remember, like, when I was young and I saw it, I didn't know who Mark Gatiss was. And definitely works on me. It was like, whoa, this old guy is like, it's similar to how like in kind of the best comparison I think of is when I first saw Back to the Future, and obviously Marty's parents are played by actors who are the same age as him, but you first see them with like aged makeup, and then you jump back to when they're younger. It's like something like, oh wow, oh they're young.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. Talk about Back to the Future all day, but David Tennant's Doctor is sort of developing this new thing that I'm noticing, which is he's getting excited about little weird things. He got excited about ball bearings, he got excited about a little shop, and then he got excited about nibbles. I love.
It's like, oh, it's a thing. Oh, another thing.
Yeah, I'm liking these sort of things because I feel like it is easy to just fall in and talk about Martha and Rose, but that character is developing as well. The 10th Doctor is developing. Even though when he's regenerate into the 10th Doctor, that's the Doctor, there is still that writing development that happens where you can tell Russell and certain writers are finding key things that David is excelling at. And I think we touched on it at the start with Smith and Jones, is the comedy that David Tennant does. He's a lot more comedic throughout this series, and especially in the next series.
Yeah, I kind of like, in my mind, probably because of online discourse, I had this impression in my head that the 10th Doctor in series 3 was perhaps, I don't know, he was very angsty and excessively mopey about Rose. But honestly, watching, you don't get that at all, especially this episode. In this episode, he's just completely just fun, enjoying it. And of course, there's that reluctance, but it's not overindulgent by any means.
No,
here he is, the Doctor and everything I've always loved about him as the Doctor.
Yeah, I feel like he's really starting to cement that role more now. There is one thing I want to talk about. That there's a couple of things that, as much as I love this episode, there's a couple of things that sort of just didn't land quite right. And I think one of them is Mark Gatiss' portrayal of young Lazarus. I'm thinking of the bit where he walks out the bit where he walks out the chamber and he goes, "I am reborn," and I'm like, oh, but I don't know if that's the writing so much. And then the other one is, as I think what you're probably thinking as well, is the CGI Lazarus monster with what is apparently Mark Gatiss' face on the front of it. Should we just go straight into that and see what we think of that?
The Lazarus monster, for me, obviously it's dated CGI, and funny enough, I feel like stuff like the werewolf in Tooth and Claw, that series, was probably better handled, both in kind of the way it was shot and kind of how good it looked. But then I kind of took a look at the Lazarus monster, kind of its just design and how it looked, and like with its rib cage and everything, and I kind of appreciated just how kind of horrific it was in a whole new light.
Yeah,
looking at it through that, and so I kind of, for me, I was kind of just like, yeah, sure, it's 2007 TV CGI, but the design is ugh.
No, the design's great. I feel like, what's that Dwayne Johnson film? Is it The Mummy, where he's turned into a big scorpion and he's like, his face is almost
the Scorpion King.
Yeah, it's like that uncanny valley, and I think that's what this falls into, because I don't think it looks like Mark Gatiss, but it's a human face for sure.
No, I know what you mean. It's kind of, I can see bits of it. I think maybe part of it is the fact that kind of its mouth is like that weird gaping thing, and that kind of throws, without that jawline, perhaps it makes it harder to recognize.
Yeah, I think it would have been funny though if those doors had opened and just like a little baby in a tuxedo came crawling out, and he put the machine on way too much, and the whole episode was just them just trying to look after this baby.
Like something like.
Sorry, go on.
One doctor and a baby. Two doctors and a baby.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. They kind of shy away from showing Mark Gatiss turn into the Lazarus monster. He always just seems to go, rah, and then fall off screen, and then the next time we see him is a big scary monster. There is a lot of this episode of characters not looking in the right direction when something is going on behind them.
Perhaps I imagine that was if they had the budget, or they pumped more budget into this episode, perhaps they would have been able to show kind of a full body morph.
Yeah.
But my assumption is the way these TV productions work, I'm guessing is, well, from what I can tell, is that they have to divide up costs between episodes, and some episodes get more than others depending on various factors. And perhaps it was a fact that with some of the more, especially stuff like Gridlock, which was very CG intensive, perhaps, and needed to be to really sell New Earth, perhaps they felt that meant that just the budget wasn't there for this.
Yeah, perhaps.
And that they could get away with kind of having an off-screen transformation.
Yeah. There's a transformation that we do see where it's very classic Doctor Who-y. He sort of lays on the floor and the camera's sort of zooming in and out, zooming in and out, zooming in and out, and the music is very sort of like it's very typical horror. It's like dun 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 dun. It's like that. I was like, oh, this is quite corny, but I don't know if it was intended. But it did sort of give me throwbacks to sort of that sort of classic Doctor Who where something intense is happening. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out really fast.
A little line that the Doctor has that's a throwback to classic Who.
Yes. Reverse the polarity. Yeah, I think this is the first time. It is the first time he says it, isn't it, in New Who?
Yeah, because he mentions that he's a bit out of touch, so it shouldn't take that long to reverse the polarity.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it was good. For those who might be interested, if you want to waste 45 minutes of your time, I recommend listening to the audio commentary of this episode, which stars one of the guys from the CGI company that designed the Lazarus experiments, and Reggie Yates, who clearly knows nothing about the program he's watching, because it's just him going, is that CGI? Is that real? Is that CGI? Is that real? And he's going, what does that mean? What does reverse the polarity mean? And it's unbearable. And there's like a good 10 minutes worth of silence throughout where they just both sit and watch the episode. It's really bad, but definitely recommend watching it. And they talk a lot about Martha's underwear as well. Really bizarre. And the Doctor keeping roses. It's weird, man. It's bizarre. I feel like I've found like a weird thing that the BBC.
Are the commentaries normally that weird?
No, the commentaries are normally quite.
The commentaries normally like that.
David's normally in some, and Russell and Martha. That was the weirdest one. It was so bizarre. One thing that I did like though in this episode. It was a really good practical effect. Is the skeletons of the corpses that Lazarus takes the life out of? They reminded me a lot of Psycho skeletons. You know, from the end of Psycho where the chair spins around and it's Mother, and she's got all her.
Whoa! Spoilers, dude.
That movie from 1963.
Huge Psycho spoiler. Some people haven't seen Psycho, man.
Well,
I didn't know the twist when I saw it.
Oh, come on. I'm not putting spoiler warnings up for Psycho.
All right, but someone's going to be ticked.
Someone's
going to be ticked that you've ruined Psycho.
Well. What did you think to those? I thought they were quite creepy, actually. They were actually scarier than the Lazarus monster.
In an essence, yeah, kind of like seeing what he did to people, the way he fed on them, sucked the life out of them. And I think that did help by the fact that it was kind of that practical effect and it was kind of real and tangible. And it was the size of a human.
Yeah. Sorry, I must point out, Psycho didn't come out in 1963. It came out in 1960, because we will get emails and comments. A thing I noticed in this episode that is really fun is there's some great background acting from the extras. If you just watch them, there's a scene where Tish walks up to young Lazarus, and young Lazarus turns away from these three gorgeous blondes and starts talking to Tish. And the three gorgeous blondes are all just like playing with their hair and like sounding going, yeah. It's just really great if you watch it. I'm like, how did nobody spot this?
That's great. I mean, if I was, an extra in Doctor Who, I'd be having a blast as well. I imagine it must be loads of fun.
Just going, oh my God, with your hands on your face. That should be our goal, just to get a little background part in Doctor Who where credited as overreactors or something like that.
It shouldn't be too hard. That'd be the dream, to work on Doctor Who.
I mentioned it a few moments ago, the idea of just not looking in the right place at the right time. The one that stands out to me is when the Doctor and Martha confront Tish. Is it Tish or Trish? It's Tish, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, when they confront her about Lazarus on the roof, and Martha goes, "Tish is a monster," and then Tish is facing the Doctor and Martha, going, "He's actually a really nice guy." And then in the background, you just see Mark Gates go, "Ah!" and he falls over, and then when he pops back up, he's a monster.
Yeah, I feel like that must have been done with deliberate comic intent, though.
I feel so, yeah, because I feel like
it had to have been.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. That whole sequence I feel is done really well, and I feel that part of the episode is done really well. But I feel the cathedral bit at the end is a bit just added on.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'd completely forgotten about that finale. That extra bit, kind of everything felt quite wrapped up at the museum, and then suddenly there was that cathedral bit. I feel like maybe if they'd found a way to kind of introduce that, defeating him in that way in that lab, and then they could have really spent time fleshing that out. Yeah. I don't hate the cathedral bit. I do know what the whole thing with playing the organ really loudly was set up kind of earlier with the whole thing of the sound waves.
Yeah.
But I guess I agree. I think it would have been better I would have preferred it, at least, if the whole thing had taken place in the lab. It really would have kind of focused it, reminded you of kind of, could have been similar to kind of a base under siege type thing.
Yeah. But then again, we wouldn't have got any more naked Mark Gatiss.
Always a treat.
What did you think of that? Because I think they cut it quite close, considering it's a family children's program.
I mean, it's like he's always wrapped quite a large blanket, isn't he?
Oh, David Tennant's standing in the way of his ass, very conveniently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never super teasy. You don't see like a bum cheek or anything.
You imagine that? She's going, "Oh, cheeky," as he turns into a big monster. What did you think about the Doctor playing the organ? I don't know why, but when I was watching it, I suddenly had the urge to put a Wallace and Gromit organ theme over the top of it.
That would have been incredible.
Go over to our Twitter, because I will do it. I'll do it tonight, and I'll schedule it for whenever this episode goes out.
One thing that I'm surprised you've not brought up. We've got yet another Doctor outfit. We've got Tuxedo Tenant.
Yes, I should have mentioned that, because he mentioned it. He says, every time I wear this, something bad happens. How many more times after this do we see him wear it? I think we see him wear it one more. And I think that's...
We see him wear it in Voyage of the Damned, and I think that's it.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
Maybe there's one in... Yeah. I think it's good. I mean, like Martha said, it is a bit James Bond. Perhaps it's a bit too formal for the Doctor. But I like that it's kind of incorporated a couple of kind of Doctorish, 10th Doctorish elements. Like he's still got the... he's still got the Converse on and stuff like that.
Yeah. I like it. I remember hearing a behind-the-scenes thing where someone said to David Tennant, "You're definitely going to get offered James Bond after this." And he said, "Why would I want to play James Bond? I'm Doctor Who."
You think he was ever offered Bond?
Honestly, I don't. I don't see him as Bond.
No. I don't see him as Bond. I see him as... I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he's too rapid fire, nimble for Bond. Bond to me seems to be
suave.
Someone who's a bit more, I don't know. Yeah, suave, slow paced, not methodical, because Bond makes a lot of blunders himself, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Anything else that we haven't spoken about, Harry? Oh, I'll tell you what we should speak about. Harold Saxon. He gets a few mentions.
Yes.
Whoever he might be.
A couple of teasers, yeah.
There's 2 or 3, and there's the mysterious man as well, who keeps appearing in warning the Doctor and warning Martha's mum, whose name I can't remember. I think she's just called Mum, isn't she, throughout it? She will have a name, but I don't think it's said. But he keeps appearing and saying about how dangerous the Doctor is. And like you said earlier, there's a lot of plot points in this episode that I'd completely forgotten about.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's something going on. At this point, we don't really know anything about Saxon other than, have we seen a Vote Saxon poster?
I've seen a few of them, yeah.
So Saxon's someone who people have voted for, and he seems to be involved with a lot of things. Like Saxon has been involved with the Lazarus experiment to some degree.
Yeah, he wanted it to work, didn't he? We'll talk about it off air because I don't like talking about future episodes before we've got to them. But I think I've just worked out why he had some involvement in that machine. One thing I thought would have been cool is what if Tish had joined the TARDIS?
That would have been. I'd have been down for that. Yeah,
Because,
it'd be kind of.
Sorry, go on.
There'd be a similar thing to Rose bringing Mickey along. Only it'd be a bit more of a mutual thing of like, yeah, but let's both come on. Or maybe Martha wanted the Doctor all to herself.
Yeah, because Martha and Tish, they're sisters, but there's definitely a difference in how they deal with intense situations like that. But then Tish just proved that she can hold her own in that sequence at the end of the cathedral. So I think it would have been fun to see something like that. I would maybe quite like to see that in the future. Sort of two brothers, a brother and a sister. Yeah. I don't think they've done that yet, have they?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have.
Rose didn't have any siblings. Martha does, but they don't come on board. Donna doesn't. Amy and Rory don't. Clara
Let's have siblings
doesn't.
on the TARDIS. They should be the next TARDIS team.
That'd be great.
Siblings, that'd be great.
Okay, so the episode ends, and I don't know if you caught this, but it says Doctor Who will return in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there was a 2-week gap when the show originally aired. I don't know what it was.
Is it the World Cup?
Football?
Probably was. 2007.
It's probably it could have been the World Cup. Right, no, but World Cups World Cups are it's even numbered years, isn't it?
Yeah. What was it? There must have been something on.
Maybe it was like Premier League or FIFA or the FA Cup or something.
That is the most football the two of us have ever spoken about in the 5 or 6 years I've known you.
And that's enough. We watched the semi-final together.
Did we talk about
it? World Cup. We watched the quarter. We've watched football together too.
Yeah, but we've never had a conversation after that or before that about football ever.
No, because I don't care about football at the time unless it's our team and they're doing well.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else that we haven't spoken about, Harry, that you would like to talk about? Oh, something I want to talk about is they do the coming up trailer, don't they? And there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up, and I was like, okay, this is really, like what I said at the start, this is really a turning point, I feel, for this series, where I was suddenly really excited again for what's to come. Yeah. Family of Blood.
There has been some strong stuff in this half, but I feel like the second half of series 3 is like peak Doctor Who, some of the best the show has possibly ever been.
Yeah. So if you're not subscribed, what should they do?
They should subscribe. Now is a good time. We're getting into some good stuff.
I'll tell you what else it's a good time for, Harry. It's a good time for the quiz.
You, not me. I hate being patient. Patience is for wimps.
Okay, let's go. Hit me.
Whoa, there was no theme tune or anything like that. What was all that about?
With the questions, Tim.
Okay, here we go.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the quiz.
Okay. What does the Doctor compliment Martha's outfit? He compliments something about her outfit. What does he compliment her on?
I don't know, is it something really weird, like its length or something?
No, he says nice shoes.
Oh, that's right.
When the Doctor's playing the organ, what number does he say he has to turn the organ up to?
11.
Yes, nice little Spinal Tap reference there. And also, final question. That's good. You got one out of 3. I think that's the best you've done so far this series. And final question, Harry.
Let's see if you can make it 2.
So I've wrote the answer down, okay? And I'm trying to remember what the question was. And I think the question was something like, when Lazarus is talking about, his house that he grew up in World War II that has been bombed. Yeah? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
What is there now?
Is there a factory?
It's a butcher's shop, I think. I think I'll tell you what. I'll give you 1.5 points because even I wasn't totally sure what the question was. I think it's only fair. Do you know what? I'm so excited for the rest of this series now. Like I said, I was slightly disappointed with the first half, but now I'm really, really sort of pumped up for this. Anything that you need to recommend to us, Harry?
Before I go, I just want to tell you were fantastic.
There's a really great series on BBC Four right now called, I believe it's called Lights Up, which is obviously due to the pandemic, a lot of theatre, well, all theatres had to shut down. And what BBC Four has done is there's a selection of theatre shows that were in production or about to go into production before the pandemic that then couldn't. And so they filmed lots of those in different ways, and each week they're kind of airing those on TV. And there's some really good, interesting stuff there. If you like modern contemporary theatre, that's worth checking out.
Nice one. I think I'm going to recommend albums. And I know that sounds strange, but I think we listen to a lot of just download songs on Spotify and iTunes and just listen to the one songs from albums. But what I've started doing is only because I was listening to a few years ago, Liam Gallagher came to our city of Hull and he did an MTV Unplugged thing. And the album was available on Spotify. So I was giving it a listen. I thought, it's in Hull, so I'll give that a listen. And then suddenly I was like, I'm going to listen to some proper Oasis albums. So I went back and I've now just been going through every Oasis album track by track and just listening. And I'm hearing Oasis songs that I've never heard before because everybody knows Don't Look Back in Anger and Little by Little and Half the World Away and everything like that. But then there's like the 7th track on their 3rd album and you're like, I've never heard this before or something like that. So maybe if there's a couple of songs by a band that you like, maybe just go on Spotify or go on YouTube or whatever, find their album and just listen to the full album. You know, maybe when you're driving or just chilling or whatever. And usually it's quite interesting because it's almost like brand new music, even though it's like 20 years old.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I already love Oasis and their albums. My brother has a couple of them on vinyl. I discovered some of my favorite artists and bands just through kind of hearing one song by them that's popular, like say All American Rejects, for example. I heard like Gives You Hell and Dirty Little Secret and like, hey, these are vibes. Now I've listened to all of their albums, most of their EPs. They're like one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite.
That's probably I might do them next time because there's literally only 2 All American Reject songs I like, and we're both pop punk fans. So I should probably check that out. As you can tell by the way we look with our pierced lips and noses and dyed hair, we love the pop punk.
That's definitely what you look like. Oh yeah, Mom and Dad just don't understand, man.
I like the fact that you're wearing a black and white tie and a school outfit like Avril Lavigne. I think it suits you.
I was going more for Billy Joel.
What with like the white hair?
Billy Joe Armstrong. Billy Joe Armstrong. Not Billy. I get Billy Joel and Billy Joe Armstrong mixed up. The frontman from Green Day.
Sing us a song, your piano man. Harry sat there with his harmonica. Oh, dearie. Well, thank you very much for listening, guys. This has been Avril Lavigne and Billy Joel, and I'll say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Harry, do you want to say goodbye?
Bye-bye.
Make sure you subscribe to the official Bigger on the Inside podcast.